So the question has come up for many years. We have many kinds of typefaces, and the typefaces carry this language information, but they also carry something else. They're graphical information. And how do we know what that message is? If you see a handwriting, as in the word expression, what does that convey compared to the word typographic in sans serif capitals? How does that compare to the serif type at the top? So let me just ask you a question. Which one of those three lines is the most friendly? So expression, does that seem the friendliest? Okay. Now, you have money and you want to deposit it in a safe bank. You choose the bank that says expression bank? Do you choose the bank that says typographic bank, or you choose the bank that says the measure, a bank of that kind? Which one do you think would be the safest bank, the most conservative bank that will measure money? So, you already have a sense of what's conveyed by the typography. If you go to you want to go out and you want to buy a new shirt, a fun shirt to wear in the sunny day, which one do you think would shop window or do the best? Expression. So the type has these things and we all react to them. Remember, we're people, we have language, and these are just blobs. These have no human qualities like we do. They don't have faces, we call them faces, but they don't have expressions, they don't have eyes, they don't have gestures. They have only their graphical black and white shapes of no particular meaning. The great linguist Ferdinand de Saussure, a Swiss linguist, said that these are unmotivated. There's nothing in nature that looks like these things. We just learned by habit, by convention, to ascribe values to them. And yet we do. So is there a way to measure that? And this is a little study we did. It was originally done at the RIT to see whether print was more expressive than web pages. And the reason we did that is because print can use any thousands of typefaces, but until recently the web was limited to a small number of fonts that the web page browsers would have installed on the computer. And this study became important as we observed that newspaper readers have been diminishing. Here the study stops in 2007, but over the next 5 years, it keeps going down. And you'll notice that older readers, age 55 at the top, keep reading the newspapers. They keep reading print. Young readers, age 18 to 24 or 25, they are not reading print anymore. So young people are migrating from print to screens. And old people are not. The problem with old people is that they're dying off as they get older. So the producers of media want this. They want you. They want you to be reading their stuff, buying their products, and so on. So we said, well, okay, if there's expression, how do we measure it? Originally, this didn't happen. The early era of typography on screens, the early Macintoshes, the screens were coarse, not expressive, and they helped us create digital publications, but they were not themselves the digital publication. Then in the last 10 and now 12 years, the digital medium has become the medium that you read on as well as that you use to create typography. The screen resolutions were low, but now the iPhone is 326 dots per inch, and I read this week that the new iPad 3 will be 320 dots per inch. For most people, under normal circumstances, that can capture all the detail you need on traditional types. Not quite. Very, very close. And so these trends people will keep going down. Document complexity is getting better and better on the iPads and the iPhones. So you importance of the image. The web pages show you very little text and an important image. There's oh look, her name is Megan Fox. So we have an actress with a director who have a spat in public. She says he cares more about the robots than the living actors. He says she is a stupid young woman and he doesn't hire her again for his next movie. So, but we see the images, we see some text. Some of you may have seen, I don't know if it came here, a movie called 300. It came out about 5 years ago. How many of you saw 300? Oh, great. What's it about? What is the movie 300 about? Who will tell me?
Game Leonidas who subversions his freedom with Spartans.
Great. Great. How did Hollywood know that story? Where did they get? They're not that smart in Hollywood. They didn't think this up themselves. Where did Hollywood get this story? Oh, don't cheat and read the screen.
Wikipedia.
They made the movie before Wikipedia. They read it in a book. Okay? Who do you think the author of the book was? Herodotus, or Herodotus of Halicarnassus, a Greek who wrote this book 2,500 years ago, almost. I, Herodotus of Halicarnassus, am here setting forth my history, which means his story. Herodotus was a guy who went around telling stories in Greece, oral stories, not written at first. And he went and got stories from those. He interviewed people, we are told, who had survived the Persian wars in Greece. He did this afterwards. There were still living people who remembered it, though he himself apparently did not fight in the wars. And he wrote a book. And so here's an English translation of the Greek by Herodotus of Halicarnassus. It's in a typeface. Does this look exciting? Was it as exciting as the movie? No. But with typography and image, you might be able to make it as exciting as this, one of the posters. This is a line from the movie. Now we're talking about excitement. This is Hollywood's great method. Okay, she is beautiful and tough. And look at this great hero, Leonidas. So the typography, here's the 300, and tonight it's fine as hell. So the typography conveys, in addition to image, strong expressions that have not existed in text. How many of you have read any of the works of Herodotus? It's a book. Nobody. But you saw the movie. It's pretty good. Do you remember the line in which, I forget the name of the actor, it's a blonde guy, and the Persians are coming and the Greeks are getting ready, and somebody tells the Greeks, says, you can't win when the Persian archers shoot their arrows. There are so many arrows, it blocks out the sun. And what does the Greek say? Remember? Yes.
They will fight in the shade.
They're going to fight in the shade. Herodotus wrote that down. The man who said it was named Dionysus in Herodotus. In the book, he has a different name because Hollywood doesn't care. And when Herodotus wrote this, he says, these brave words of Dionysus will live longer than any stone memorial. And so they have. And the words are repeated through books and in a movie that is based on a book, and you hear the brave words of Dionysus. So, how do we try to understand the expressiveness of typography? We have many words for this in English and in other languages, but what is connotation, the feeling that it brings? The congeniality, the pleasure that it brings, the feeling tone. It's a vague word, but it's not about your intellect. It's about your feelings. Expressiveness, Ovig used the term atmosphere value, something about when you breathe in the text, it's like breathing in the scent of a flower, or the musky old room, or the sound of the street, some atmospheric quality. And the scientists have that term like semantic differential. Doesn't that sound impressive? It's a big word, semantic differential. So the semantic differential is actually quite simple-minded. We make pairs of terms: old, young, cool, warm, weak, strong, sad, happy, and we show something. We ask people, does this make you feel sad or happy? Or is it young or old? Is it formal or casual? And so for this experiment, it's not original to me. It's been worked on since Oregon over 75 years. Different in Germany, they did several experiments. In America, they did them. And most recently, there was a doctoral student at the University of Wichita in Kansas who did a thesis. Audrey Dawn Shake. And I used some of her methods with her permission to replicate this study in a different way. So here we have two text fonts, Times Roman and Arial. How many of you saw the movie Helvetica? A few. Remember when, the Dutch typographer said that he chose Helvetica because it was neutral. Wimkrauw, yes. Wimkrauw says he's chosen Helvetica because he's neutral. It's a neutral face. Sans serif is neutral. So one of the things we asked is, okay, how do we measure neutrality? How do we measure these feelings? And so we took types, and we also took display fonts, different weights, different styles, and we showed them to people. We did it with a computer done by my colleague Adam Smith and Paige and Nay. This is actually run by a mouse, and if you see the type up here, you can move the mouse and say, okay, what's more masculine? Just for curiosity, how many of you think this looks masculine? Okay, how many think feminine? All right, so you agree with whoever did this study here. Now we have Times Roman bold italic. How many of you think this is masculine and how many think it's feminine? Masculine, feminine. Okay. So it's possible to have views on this, and if you aggregate them, we begin to get a number of choices. Again, delicate, rugged. The sans serif, the grotesque looks rugged. This is cursiva, and undistinguished, but still musical, chancery cursive. It looks more active than passive. This is Fruiger's design for Toronto. And maybe it looks happy. This is my favorite. Type craze called hair of the dog, which I guess means a hangover. If you drink too much at night, the next time your head hurts. And they say in English, you have more of another drink. The hair of the dog that bit you to remove your headache. And this was marked good or bad, obviously bad. It looks to me psychotic. But my students found this, and that's why I used it. Then, on each of these terms, we plot a graph, and we see that it has a shape. The shape is not important exactly, but it tells us what the general feeling looks like. That's Times Roman. Now we add in the italic. Look what's happened. Even though they're the same typeface family, the italic shifts the sets of meanings. It becomes more feminine, less rugged. In some ways, they're about equally as exciting, but the italic is less strong. It's a little younger. Why? I don't know. Maybe adults, older people are stiff and stand like this, and younger people are active. Then we did the bold way. Look, the notice that none of them are neutral. Every one of these has some kind of characteristic. It's a little bit messy, and there might be better ways to show it, but it tells us that we can find for each typeface a certain kind of spectrum of meanings. And it defines, we made this kind of spider web design, and it shows sort of that Times Roman occupies a slightly irregular shape there in the center. Now, we made a red line here, which is neutrality. If a typeface is totally neutral, shouldn't it be zero? It's neither hot or cold, young or old, fast or slow. It should be quiet, nothing there. And yet, for Arial and for Times Roman, we see that neither one is neutral. They're different. Times Roman has a different portrait than Arial, but neither one is neutral. And again, here, it's just, I'm mapping the same chart around in a circle so we can get a slightly different view of it. I don't want to call it donut. That's a polar coordinate. It's only to view it. And we see that they're slightly different here, that the Arial is much stiffer than Times Roman. And so we get a portrait this way. If I fill in the beginnings, I see that Times Roman, it touches neutrality, but it moves around this irregular shape. Georgia, a common typeface on the screen, serif, like Times Roman, it has a different shape. It's a different set of atmosphere values, a different set of meanings. Centaur, a very lovely typeface based on the typefaces of Jensen, is a very light book face. And it is even different from the others. It becomes weaker and sadder and all fun. And so that it has yet a different feeling tone. Baskerville, one of the famous typefaces for books. Bauer-Bodoni get a different shape. So each typeface family has a characteristic look when you plot it this way. Here, what we do is we say, okay, I'm going to plot Times New Roman and Georgia, which are 20th century designs, versus Baskerville, Bodoni, and Centaur, which are common book faces from the traditional era. In many areas they overlap, but the Baskerville and Bodonis tend to be more prominent in some areas, and the Times Roman and Georgia and others. So they tend to be cooler, younger. So book faces are similar, but there are slight differences. Then we took all of the so-called web-safe fonts. Are you familiar with this term, web-safe fonts? These are the fonts that every Macintosh, every Windows machine all have. So if you design a web, you can use Arial or Times Roman or Georgia or Verdana, and you can be guaranteed that those fonts will appear in the website. And we map what the envelope, we call it, the range of expressiveness of these types. And I just took out the intermediate lines. Then we looked at non-web-safe fonts, display fonts, and a larger variety. And sure enough, the range of meanings is much bigger. By going to display faces, by going to faces that are not on the web, we find you can say more. Not in terms of the words, but in terms of the feeling tone, the atmosphere values, the connotations. And when we plot the web-safe fonts, which are blue, against the non-web-safe display fonts, the blue turns green, but we see that by this measurement system, the display fonts are indeed, just as we would suspect, more expressive. You can say more. There is now something, this was the bottleneck. You have all of these expressive fonts here, and when we put them through the bottleneck of web safety, we only get a few. Now there is a technique called web fonts, which most of the big font companies are now using, where you can put onto I'll just go over it. You can put onto the server a bunch of fonts, and your website will call the font just like it calls a web page. Download the font, show it to you on the screen, and this now increases the expressiveness of the web page beyond, let's say, fonts. Originally, there's a lot of technologies for this. There wasn't much agreement, and now it's being sorted out. The model, just to explain it, is this is the font resident model. You have a web page on your machine, the client, it shows the web page and finds the font on your computer. So that's the web-safe font model. The fonts are on your computer. The font server model says the web page might come from one server to your computer, and your computer talks to another server and finds the font and loads it in. So now the fonts are out on the web, just like web pages. So the font down, your computer downloads, your browser, your image browser, downloads the font to your system. And now we can expand the expressiveness of the web. Now there's a lot of problems with it still. Different formats, a lack of popular type styles. At the time I showed this first, I said it would take 2 to 5 years to sort out, and it's been 4 years. It's almost sorted out. It will be sorted out in another year or two. We had plans to change this in some ways, to do a different web design in the next phase, which I hope we do, is allow, we've done this with students at RIT. So we're talking about maybe 200, 250 students took this test. What we want to do now is open it up to anyone in the world and ask you to take the test. And when you're done, it will show you what your choices were. And then you can compare your impressions of the font to the average for everyone who's taking the test. So that should be the next phase of this, where you can see. You might be able to divide it up by country. How many people in Antwerp voted the font? We might see a difference between, say, Paris and Antwerp, or between Antwerp and New York, or between Singapore and America. And you could also do the opposite. You could have a slider scale here with these, slide them, and ask the system to find you fonts that fit this. You say, I want a font that is old, but active, but rugged. Sean Connery, that would be Harrison Ford or something. Indiana Jones is my font. And you could do that, and then it would give you suggestions. So you could go one way, you find out what the world's opinions are, you go the other way, and return fonts. These will change over the years. Fonts are fashionable, unfashionable, cultures change, and so on. And then you can survey. So that's the next phase of this. I think the site's still working. I haven't checked it recently. But if you want to write this down, you can take this test yourself. How are we doing for time?
Okay.
We have another 20, 25 minutes? Everybody got it down? You can ask your friends to text you. You can send it as text messages to your friends.
I'll take a picture of it.
Oh, yeah.